Who is with Vinny Fiorenza? There's a lot he doesn't know. There's a lot he wants to know. This is a podcast where he tries to learn from people who know things he doesn't. He'll be focusing on people from the worlds of business, entertainment, and the arts. His guests are people he finds fascinating and that he believes will bring value to others. Join him on the journey on finding out who is.
Who is Susan Ferris? Susan Ferris is someone that I've been fortunate enough to work for and alongside for the past 2 years. I've learned so much from her 30 plus years of experience in the business. In this episode, we'll get into talking about some topics like how she got started as a rep, her connection with Sharon Osbourne, when she used to work at A&M Records, and her love for cigars. So join me on this episode of finding out who is Susan Ferris. Hey guys, we're here with Susan Ferris. Really excited to have this interview. Let's get this thing going.
All right, I'm here. I'm here for you.
Yeah, she's here for me. Let's put rain, snow, sleet, the whole nine. But
I'm like a mailman.
yeah, that's one way to put it. But I wanted to get into it and learn a little bit about the earlier Susan Ferris. Mm-hmm. Like, would you be able to describe yourself as a child? Like, did you have any unique interests or anything like that growing up? Like, tell us a little bit about that.
I was the weird kid.
Surprise.
I was the weird kid. I was the four-eyed, freckle-faced, buck-toothed, red-headed weirdo.
Wow, you nailed you checked off every box.
Every box. And on top of it, I was adopted, which back then was weird. So, yeah, no, I was... Nice. No doubt I was going to go into entertainment.
That's great. Did you have any, like, well, we know you were weird, but, like, did you do anything? Did you have any weird things that you did along with your weirdness?
Probably nothing I should share.
Okay. Sounds good.
I'm sure there are a couple of people in Boston are going, except that time that you... Yeah.
So you're from Boston?
I'm from Boston originally.
Yeah. How was it like growing up there?
Oh, I love Boston. I'm Boston through and through.
Yeah? How much?
Well, are we about to talk about the Red Sox?
No.
Or the Patriots or the Celtics? Because, I mean, that's pretty through and through.
Yeah, no.
Unless you just needed me to, start dropping my ass. And
That's what we were going for.
All
there,
right,
yeah.
there you go.
Yeah, she's a performer, too. But you moved from Boston to Little Rock, Arkansas.
Right.
What led you there?
Weirdly, I didn't have a choice.
Okay.
I mean, it was one of those, I was a teenager. My parents were like, we're going to Arkansas. So I was there. I got there when I was a teenager. I went to high school and college in Arkansas.
Got it. What were like some of the major differences between Boston and Arkansas?
I'm not sure we can say that on air.
This is a mature audience. I think we can handle
you know what? It was really, really weird. And where I grew up in Boston was it was a suburb, and it was very, it was very Wonder Years. It was very, there was nobody of color. You were Catholic or you were Protestant. It was... it was the 60s and the 70s, and it was it was a crazy. And then you moved to Arkansas, and they were still
Big
talking
shift.
about the war, which was weird.
That's crazy.
The Civil
War. Unreal. So I know you went there for, like, I think your dad had a job change, and I know, because I know you, that you have this skill that not a lot of people have. She's a doctor adjacent.
Oh, I'm a doctor adjacent. That's right.
Yeah, and this is something valuable for the audience to know.
This is very true.
Yeah.
Yeah, my dad's a pretty well-known doctor, and I'm a doctor adjacent. So a lot of people come to me with rashes or cuts and bruises or sniffles, and they want me to diagnose them. I actually do a pretty good job.
Yeah, I concur. She knows what she's doing. As the doctor adjacent MD, she knows exactly what she's doing. But
my parents are so proud.
All these years. So you were in Little Rock, and then you went to school there and everything. What was that experience like in school in Little Rock?
High school or college?
I don't know, all the above. Give us a little bit of both.
High school was a Catholic girls' school, which should pretty much say everything.
Did you have some nicknames or something for that?
Yes, I went to Mount St. Mattress. Senior year, I went to public school, Hall High, go Warriors. And then I went to the University of Arkansas at Little Rock.
Nice.
And studied theater and film,
Nice.
which, you know, big theater and film school.
That's great. So you went from college out to Hollywood.
I did.
Yeah,
I took my last final. And let me be clear, I actually finished college in 3 years.
Nerd.
But it took me another year to get out of biology. I had to take it 6 times. No kidding.
Wow.
So I finally, after my last biology exam, which I took high, my car was packed. I called the professor and was like, did I pass? Yes, you passed. And
Oh, I didn't know it was like that. I didn't know you just went right after school.
oh, literally the day I took my last biology exam and called up and got my car was packed and I was on the road.
How was that trip?
Well, I
Have you done it before then?
no.
Oh, okay.
No, and also I didn't come right. I came to LA via Boston.
Got it.
So
Yeah,
I went
so what
to,
does that mean? Yeah, like,
So I went to. Now I guess you need to keep in mind that I might have had a drug problem.
she might have had a drug problem. You're sober, right?
I'm sober, and actually I'm actually very proud of it, and I have no problem talking about my drug problem. But we left Little Rock, a friend of mine and I. We drove to Memphis for the night. Then we drove to Nashville, where the car promptly broke down, and we had to stay for 2 weeks.
Oh wow.
Then we drove up to Massachusetts to hang out and get high.
Yeah,
And
as people do.
then we came back, and then we drove to LA. Yeah, it was, yeah, the things you do.
Yeah, the things you do. Things you do.
Things I do.
But
Thankfully, none of those people are still alive.
no, yeah, I mean, you live to tell the tale, and then some. But what was it like when you first went out to Hollywood, like, or LA for that matter? Like, where'd you stay? What were you doing?
So I got here in the mid '80s. I got here in '86, and LA and Hollywood, it was a completely different scene. I actually lived downtown before it was cool to live downtown. Before we called it DTLA. I lived downtown, and again, high as a kite. Just want to make sure we're all clear on that. But it was very different. It was the clubs were very different. It's sort of funny now when somebody says, "Oh, I'm going to, insert club name here," and inevitably I'm like, "Yeah, what did that used to be?"
Yeah, we have this conversation almost every day.
Okay, what did it used to be? So, but also it was, you also have to keep in mind, in the mid '80s. We didn't have phones, camera phones. We didn't even have cell phones. We had, you maybe had a beeper, and there were pay phones all over the place. So it wasn't really. It just felt more. As much as I hate this word, it felt more authentic. It felt more genuine.
Yeah, no, I'm sure it did. I didn't get to experience that as much as you. Well, you speaking about these clubs and stuff. Where were some of the spots you hung out?
Well, we hung out a bunch of places downtown. Actually, I used to hang out at a place called Vertigo, which I believe you two did a song about. Downtown, it was Al's Bar. In Hollywood, it was Raji's. It was Coconut Teaser. I mean, you could go on, seriously.
You've worked a couple places?
I worked at a bar called Zaytar's for a minute when I was working at the record label. I would go to the label all day. I would work all day, and then I would go bartend at night.
That's pretty cool. I'm sure you have some crazy stories from there.
I do.
Yeah, what was it like working at the? You'll avoid some of those, but what was?
Also, those people are no longer alive.
Yeah, got some history. We'll get that part 2 eventually. But
Yeah.
what was it like working at the record label?
Well, I worked at A&M, and it was interesting because my job, I started as an intern, and then I was promoted to West Coast Singles Coordinator.
Wow.
Makes me sound like a dating expert. My job.
I never heard.
My job was in sales and marketing, and when back in those days, an album would come out and they would choose a single, and that was my job, was to sort of take that single and go to Tower Records, and go to stores and set up stuff and come up with cool marketing ideas. And so, and I worked with some great bands back then. Bands that people thought were great back then. I'm not. Some of them I wasn't really a fan of, but my job was to make sure everybody knew.
So that's great. What's cool, I'm sure a bunch of the audience didn't know, but you actually started in music.
I did. I started
and
in music.
now mostly working with actors. It's a big transition. What is I know you started your company Bohemia Group in '92, but what led up to that point? What made the transition? You know what? I get what's going on here. I'm going to start this on my own, or whoever. Maybe, yeah.
So after I worked at A&M, and my job actually was made redundant because Polygram bought A&M, and a lot of us were. I went and I got a job working for a band called Slayer, and the guy that I worked for was. Wow. The guy that I worked for was an ass.
Okay.
That's all I don't even know what to say with that. He was an ass. He walked around in his tighty whities. It was, he was, but it was 1990 and I wanted to be in the music business, so I didn't care. And I was there for 2 years, and he came in one day and he was like, I don't think this is going to work. And I'm thinking, really? Okay. So I walked out, I flipped him off, I closed the door. Actually, the first call I made to was Sharon Osbourne, who Ozzy wasn't touring at the time. So I was like, how can we cuss on this?
Of course, yeah.
If that motherfucker can have a management company, well, then I can have a management company.
I don't care. That's
and
great.
Lots of beeps. It'd be like Greg Gutfeld, beep, beep, beep. But I walked out, and I called my dad, and I was like, okay, I want to do this crazy thing. Will you help me out? And he was like, okay, sure. And that was it, and that was '92, and here we are, 31 years later.
Casually mentioned Sharon Osbourne.
Oh, yeah. Well, back in those days. The metal world was very small.
Yeah.
Really small. There were, five bands.
So that led. After that 2 year span in '92, you start Bohemia Group.
Yeah. I didn't call it Bohemia Group in the beginning.
Tell us.
It was actually called Suicide in the beginning.
Oh wow.
Probably not the best use of wording.
I would. Especially in this industry.
Yeah. But one of the things that I don't think people realize, when the company first started, I had, in the very, very beginning, I only had bands.
Got it.
The drummer for Slayer had just gotten fired from Slayer, so I managed him. I helped him put his band together. And I had to work. I had to work paying jobs.
Oh, got it.
So
I know how that goes.
I delivered flowers. I don't even remember everything I did, but one of the jobs I did, I worked in telemarketing for an insurance, B2B insurance stuff. And I would go early in the morning and I would leave by noon. And finally one day I came in, and one of the guys who owned it was like, where do you go? And I was like, yeah, I own a management company. And he was like, oh, I always wanted to do that. So we all partnered up for a little while, and I actually bought half of the telemarketing company, and then Bohemia was sort of that was really up and running. We brought in actors, we brought in,
Just for the timeline, I know I said this before, but this was all in '92.
Yeah, 92, 93, yeah.
Okay, wow.
Yeah.
So, for the audience that doesn't know. Mm-hmm. What is a talent manager? Because it's I don't know, people want to say, oh, I need a manager, blah, blah, but what does a manager actually do?
So I always think it's funny when people say, oh, I need a manager. I'm like, yeah, you probably don't. And by the way, my parents still ask me this question. So what exactly do you do? Mm-hmm. A manager, first and foremost, is a strategist. We're sort of there we're the captain of that ship. We're there to we're there to go on the journey with you. Back in the old days, and really truly back in the old days, there was a definite divide. You were a manager or you were an agent. And agents, they submitted and they pitched and they negotiated, and that was their job, and they stayed in their lane. And managers were a little more, hand-holdy and more strategist, and, it was more of a personal relationship. And we didn't really, back in those days, do a lot of pitching and submitting. I mean, we always sort of knew what was going on, but we stayed in our lane.
Why choose that lane? Like what manager versus agent?
That's a good question. I don't know.
That's funny.
I never, it never dawned on me to be an agent. Maybe because I knew a lot of agents in the music business, and they were all tools. It's like, oh, yeah, no, I don't want to do that. Also, in the state of California, you have to be licensed and bonded to be an agent. So it's not as simple as that. And of course, then the other thing for me is then generally people don't wake up and go, God, you know what I want to do? I think I want to be a manager when I grow up. That doesn't happen. So I always chose the road less traveled.
Yeah, join. Yeah, I'm in that club for sure. With that being said, do you have any managers or reps, like from whether history or currently, that that have inspired you throughout your career? Like people, who I would take that as you may.
Who've inspired me?
Yeah, like you've seen that they've done over their career, and like maybe like you found that pretty interesting.
So there were a couple people who I always sort of looked at and went, oh yeah, okay, that's the career I would have. Peter Grant. If you don't know who Peter Grant is, he was the manager for Led Zeppelin. And sort of a side note, when I was doing a show with Slayer, we were at Madison Square Garden for Clash of the Titans, and I'm in the back walking down, and I'm like, okay, this is the song I'm totally Peter Grant right now. I totally had a moment of But Peter Grant has always been somebody that I looked to. Bernie Brillstein was always somebody that I sort of watched and was like, man, how do you even do that? And David Geffen, who actually started out as a manager. And I just sort of paid attention to, those are the people that really inspired me. Interestingly enough, I think a lot of people, because I used to know back in the metal days, there haven't been a lot of, Sharon Osbourne excluded, there haven't been a lot of women, and not that should matter. I mean, if you admire somebody, it shouldn't matter what they are, but there haven't been a lot of women to look at and go, all right. But hopefully I'm that person for somebody now.
I'm sure you have. You've been in it for a while. You've inspired me all the time. So that's right. But what is it like being a woman owner in this business?
Oh, it's hard.
Yeah,
it's hard. Well, not so much hard now because most people actually don't give me shit at all. But in the very, very beginning, it was like, especially when I had a male partner in the very beginning, people assumed I was the secretary, not the assistant.
Wow.
They assumed I was the secretary. And, or they'd ask questions like, well, what does your partner have to say about, or they used his name, and I don't want to use his name.
Yeah, understood.
What does he have to say about that? And it's like, I don't know, nor do I care. So that was an interesting transition that was an interesting sort of thing to deal with, and that they didn't take me seriously for no other reason. The other thing is, and I've done this maybe a little bit on purpose. I'm a bum. I dress like a bum.
Case in point.
Right. I'm and I say that and I use those, endearingly. I think it's really important to be comfortable and all.
Yeah.
So that probably didn't help my cause. That I wasn't gonna, go in and get all suited up and be that person.
Well, you're you know, I mean, and that's like, built this whole persona.
But yes, big cigar smoker. But I also think that probably, had I sort of chosen another path where, it was sort of a more feminine and more, tiger late, whatever, sort of that image you see of, corporate women in the 80s and the 90s. I think that maybe that would have been different. I don't know, but.
So what's called, you originally had a business partner. What was it? What was the transition like when you took over and you were the sole manager? Like, what things changed? What stayed the same? Whatever.
I bought him out. He actually left the business entirely. And I think my only regret was I probably should have bought him out 2 or 3 years before I did.
All right.
It was amazing. It was awesome because I spent a lot of time doing things and then be like, okay, I'll wait. And I that's not how my brain works. So once I bought him out, it was that's when I opened up New York and London, and I started the production company, and it really just sort of whoosh, the floodgates opened, and it was incredible.
So you're mentioning all this, these offices worldwide.
Yep.
Tell us a little bit about that. How do you make those type of partnerships, and why make those partnerships?
So one of the things I've always, from the very beginning, back in '92. One of the things that was always super important to me, I wanted to be everywhere. Yeah. I really did. And when I started with LA, obviously, and then the next stop was New York, and that took me a minute. I mean, I had a couple of epic fails in New York with people. But finally I got the right sort of the right thing, and then that just sort of then opened up. New York seemed for me very important, just for obvious reasons, because just the business, there's a business in New York, there's a business in LA. Although is
that mainly like theater focused? Or
a lot of theater. Yeah. I think that it's not as it's a lot more blurry now. It's not as because back then I think there was a TV show that filmed in New York.
That's fine. Yeah, it's definitely not like that now.
And now it's not like that. So it was nice to sort of get that. And then when it was, in my brain it was like, okay, I've got New York. It's time to get London, which is its own brand of, and I can remember getting over there, and people going, oh yeah, we don't do that here.
Totally different world. Like
totally different world.
Whatever.
And I was like, you don't do that here yet.
I love that. Yeah, that's her.
And sure enough, and it took me a couple years, had people on the ground, and it took me a couple years of pressing the flesh and banging on doors, and I remember the first time we got the call, and not the agent. We got the call from Nina Gold, who's a huge casting director. We got the call for an audition. And it was like, oh shit, we made it. It pissed off the agent so bad. But it was like, okay, this is it. And now it's, and again, same thing with New York. There wasn't a lot that was filmed there, and it was very specific. And now it's like, there really is everything really is global. There really are it's all, which is cool.
It's funny, like now with everything like social media and stuff like that, everyone is so accessible and so easy. Yeah, it's so easy to reach everyone, see everyone. How do you feel about your clients and using that either as a tool, a resource, or not using it at all?
Wait, to be
like on the platforms and things like that, like how do you feel about clients using that? Like,
Oh, social media.
yeah, right.
Yeah, that's a necessary evil. And it's a necessary evil that I've had to come to terms with. It took me a really long time. One of the people who, one of the managers, and it's a sort of a joke that we have now. One of the managers who's been with me since 2006, Allison.
Yeah.
Her
Great.
first job with me was my intern doing my MySpace.
Wow.
So
I was big in music, too.
yeah. So I guess I've always been aware and always known that it was a thing. My only issue with it is that I think people, actors specifically, spend too much time trying to just be, either be an actor or be an influencer. If you want to be an influencer who acts, I'm happy to be that party. But I think, actors, they get it tricked. Oh, I don't have enough followers. You won't be able to do what? That $100,000 horror film? I'm pretty sure the people who are casting,
Influencers.
are not, but if somebody's casting something really major, chances are they're not going to the actor who they want to bring on and go, gee, I wonder how many followers they have. I wish that wasn't such a focus.
Yeah, it's tough in this time. I get it, but it's
But
hard.
hey, listen, I have an Instagram. I think we have a TikTok. I'm not sure.
She's getting more active on social media.
I'm getting more active on social media.
Day by day.
It's funny. You go to my Instagram, and you know what you're going to see? You're going to see a lot of pictures of me smoking cigars.
Yeah, she's big on the cigars.
Which is kind of funny.
So, you also have your own blog, and you're
Yes.
active. Like you post on Facebook a lot and tell
Yes.
people about certain things. Tell me about the blog that you have. It's called Dear Actor.
Yes, Dear Actor.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about it.
So, Dear Actor started actually, I don't know, 5-6 years ago now. If you haven't figured this out yet, I'm a little snarky.
Yeah, maybe.
And and it's funny because I always tell people you can't read tone. Stop reading tone into it. And let me tell you, you read Dear Actor and you can read the tone. And Dear Actor really is. And it actually originally was Dear Actor, I love you, but ... So it really is my sort of love letter to actors to get their heads out of their asses.
Yeah.
I'm not. I know I've had a couple people who were like, "You're so mean." Like, okay, then get out of the business.
Yeah, for real though.
And if I'm mean, that's you. Okay. So, and it's usually, and if you read it, it's like, well, duh.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of that. It's a lot of duh. But
It's out of love too.
it is out of love. And
Yeah.
if it comes across to one person that they get it, then great. But a lot of people, I think, even though they might go, it's so mean, go, oh, wait a minute, that's me. The other thing that's funny about Dear Actor, because I keep notes, and I'll be like, all right, I guess it's time to do a Dear Actor. And they're usually pretty, I think you guys have helped me sort of look at it. I'm sending this one out. Inevitably, a client or an actor will be like, did you write that about me?
Oh yeah, everything's about
like,
them.
no, should I have? So
I'm sure there's been times where people have been right.
but I would never say that. But it always does crack me up. It's like, I don't know, do you see yourself in that, Dear Actor?
It's like you're a psychologist sometimes. It's
Sometimes.
a lot.
Listen, part of being a manager is you're a psychologist, you're a psychiatrist, you're a bail bondsman, you're a mother, you're a father, you're a babysitter.
Bail bondsman.
Yeah.
So speaking of that, you're doing 100 million things. What's a day to day in your job? Obviously, we know every day is probably a little different.
Every day is different.
But I don't know. What do you give some examples what you do on a day to day?
Well, I'm usually in pretty early, and part of the reason I'm in pretty early is because I deal a lot with around the world. My day actually starts at 5 a.m.
Yeah.
I get up, I watch the news, I do my emails. Sometimes I have Zoom meetings that early, because why not? And then quite literally, when I go into the office, I'll have stuff I have to work on, but it really depends on what the phone call is, what hat is going to go on. You know, because we have music, we have music, we have production, we have all that. We're busy, and a lot of clients. So yeah, whoever's on the phone is the hat that I'm going to wear.
You mentioned the production side of things. Yeah, I know you have the company BGO. How are things with that, and what lies ahead?
So with BGO, which started about 6 years ago, is really cool. We're doing a lot of stuff. We're optioning stuff. We've created a couple of pilots that we're selling right now.
Very exciting.
And yeah, it's cool. It's we have a movie out right now.
Yeah. Yep.
Which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
It was like, I'm not gonna lie.
The title card, like, right.
I'm not gonna lie. I was like, okay, I have to buy the movie because I need to support the movie.
My movie.
And I watched it long enough to see the title card, and I'm like, I had to go somewhere. I actually had to go somewhere, and I was like, okay, well now I own it, so that's okay. But I took a picture. I was like a 5-year-old. It was really cool. It's called The Last Deal, and it's cool. I think the New York Times just talked about how great it was.
Yeah, it made a lot of festivals. Did really well in Boston.
So,
a couple others.
It's
at the Chinese Theater a couple months ago. It's cool.
So yeah, so BGO is that does really well. We also have music. We have the record label and the publishing, and so there's always something going on.
I know that for a fact. I'm in the office quite a bit, and there's a lot of activity all the time.
There's always activity.
It's very exciting. Something I always think about when I look at you, like, say, like when you speak with me, what career advice would you give to your younger self? Like, this is a fun one, I think.
What career advice? Wow. It's funny because when I started management, I came into this with, how hard could it be? And that really was sort of my attitude. And I think that's probably still my attitude. And I think that's that I don't know if I would change anything. I'm a big believer in keeping your head down and just doing your work. And I think that there probably the things that I would change are things that, like, when I bought my partner out, at the time, I probably would have done it earlier. There were managers at the time who I probably would have said, you know what, maybe you shouldn't be a manager. I'm not. So yeah. So that's. But no, I'm actually, I would say do what I'm doing, and yeah.
Nice. What's called? I respect that because I see it every day. So I know being in here with myself and us inside, and you not being able to smoke a cigar right now is probably making her kind of itch, especially spitting the shit with me. And
right, because this is such. I mean, this is the perfect first cigar.
I know. Yeah. Well, we'll upgrade the studio soon. But when did you start smoking cigars?
About 1990.
Oh, wow. Well, you've been
so 30, 35, 34. Yeah, long time
nice,
ago.
Expensive habit.
Yes, but as you mentioned, I'm sober.
Better than drunk.
Right, I'm sober, and I switched one addiction for another, but because I certainly spent an enormous amount of money on drugs, but it's the thing that has shifted actually about my cigar smoking is I'm much more of a connoisseur now. So
nice.
Back then it was, but yeah.
So that's great.
Always willing to have anybody on the balcony to sit and smoke a cigar.
Yeah, come to Bohemia Group and smoke a cigar with us if you want to get to know us.
Exactly.
Or learn a thing or two too.
Exactly.
But yeah, the conversation that go on up there.
They're pretty intense.
Yes,
and fun.
Definitely. Yeah, we have a nice time. What are some of the interests people in the professional world might not know about you? Like, so maybe some of the things you post about on your Facebook or whatever.
Well, I mean, things I post. I'm a big reader. I mean, I'm like a ferocious reader. So I think a lot of people know that. Obviously, cigar smoker, love my cats. But I think what people don't. I don't know what one of the things people don't realize about me. I'm actually a very traditional.
Yeah.
I'm a very traditional. Traditional in Wow, that makes me sound really weird. I don't even know how to put that, but I am. I'm a very traditional. I'm a little conservative.
Like in the home or something.
Yeah, I mean, my house. If you go into my house, you're like, for real? This is where you live? You know, it looks like maybe Martha Stewart or Laura Ashley came into my house.
Vomited all over it.
I'm a conservative, which is interesting in Hollywood.
Sure.
And certainly not ashamed of it.
She's into guns too.
Yes, I am. I'm into guns. I'm a big 2A person. But listen, saying that's also that's an interesting, because one of the things Bohemia does do is we have Bohemia Gun Day, and part of that is taking actors. Most of the actors have never even been in a room with the gun, and it's training and it's learning respect and it's learning how to shoot from the holster and all the things you need. Those are things you need as an actor. You need that.
It's true.
And that's right now in this climate has been incredibly helpfly because it's a
been to
scary time. Yeah, and it's I think that's important. I think it's important. So so those are some of the. I'm a walking dichotomy of I'm a weirdo. See?
Oh, yeah,
it didn't change.
No, yeah, from 8 years old to now, and I'm gonna hop over to like some quicker questions.
Sure.
So any pets?
I have 3 cats.
3 cats. And what are their names?
Scout, Gem, and Boo.
Nice.
And if you're a reader, you know where that's from.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say it. What's your? If you had to choose one cigar to smoke forever, what would it be?
Ooh.
It could be a type.
Maybe the Illusion HL Candela.
Cool. Yeah, we'll research it. I've smoked it, but I don't smoke it.
That's a tough one.
Yeah. Favorite movie? This is an easy one.
The Godfather.
She's wearing a hoodie right now. I don't know if you guys could all read it, but
Luca Brazzi's Fish Market.
Luca Brazzi's Fish Market.
Godfather.
You have a favorite show?
Favorite TV show?
Yeah.
No, I'm a big fan of Ted Lasso. Big fan of Blue Bloods. I'm a little bit all over the place.
Cool. Sounds good. If favorite music artist, this is a rough one to ask you, but like, if you really had a pinpoint.
Yeah. So I actually get this question a lot.
Yeah.
Because I listen to all genres of music. If I had to take one band's music on a desert island, it would be REM.
Wow. Okay.
And nobody ever guesses that.
Yeah,
it's like, okay. Yeah.
So last quicker one. Who is a historical figure you would like to have dinner with?
Richard Nixon.
Oh. Well, okay, that was fun. So there we have it. We've had some
now everybody's
fun.
like, okay, wow, she's a freak. Okay,
it's all right. We knew that already. But where could everyone find you, or did you want to be found?
I'm actually pretty accessible and easy to find. There's a website. Bohemia has a website. Bohemia.com.
Yeah, there we are.
There's an Instagram page. Is it at Bohemia Group?
Yeah, it's
Bohemia
everything's Bohemia Group.
Right, but it's I get so mixed up with the little ats and so at Bohemia Group. I have an Instagram.
Yeah, she has a team doing this.
I do. I have an Instagram, which is kind of funny if you want to see me smoke cigars. I think it's SZF143.
Oh yeah, I don't know the answer to that
but I
one.
actually don't know.
But
yeah, no, I mean I am around. I'm a big believer. I really truly am a big believer in sharing information. I always have been, and so I always encourage people. You've got a question. I'd rather be the person who answers your question than be the person who's cleaning up your mess.
Oh yeah, I understand that, and I'm grateful for you answering my questions here today.
Well, thank you. It was fun.
Yeah, I'm glad we were able to come out here, and you took your trek.
I did, and it's snowing, so I'm even more excited.
Cool. What's called? Thank you. This was Susan Ferris. We appreciate everything. Thank you.
Thank you.